Hello, and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grant Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you live every Thursday night in Facebook and YouTube land. Chats are always fun. Remember, we try to get to every chat that we can. But remember, your chats may even show up in the show. And if you can't catch us live, catch us in the replay or in your favorite podcasting app. You know me, John Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge, number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up, forever and currently, Worshipful Master, Joe Martinez.
44 days. Not that anybody's counting, but yes, 44 days until I'm no longer. But yeah, for those who don't know me, I am Joe Martinez, past and current master of Manassas Lodge, number 182 in Manassas, Virginia, for 44 more days. So there will be no more of that ever. Yes. Ever. Yeah. Forever.
And last but not least tonight, Worshipful Robert Johnson. Cheers and salute.
Cheers and salute to you. They're 78, Waukegan 78 rather, and Spice Novum 1183, Premier Masonic Education Lodge in the state of Illinois, where anybody can visit virtually if you're 50 miles away. Anyway, good to be here. Glad to be talking with you fellas, and let's get it done.
Get it done.
Great to see you.
Bing. I got my Founders Club Masonicon Kansas Cup tonight.
I see that.
Hashtag Masonicon Kansas.
Ooh.
Bing, bing.
Nice.
Ooh. That is nice.
You know, it's also nice, our patrons who support the show. They're amazing, actually. So if you want to support the show, head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable and support free Masonic education for many years to come.
Or until 2040.
Or until 2040. But who's counting? Where Joe will still be master.
He will not.
And will turn off the lights on his way out.
44 days.
But who's counting?
Not me.
All right. And then we segue also into Joe's favorite segment.
Tarot card of the week. Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Great.
Great. All right. So, I'm going to bring up a little classic, something I found recently at a Barnes & Noble of all places. Caught my eye. It combined my interests.
They have a fun tarot card section.
They do.
And Noble, yes.
They do.
It's kind of small. I feel like Second and Charles had a better selection, but all right.
Yeah. So this one is the Edgar Allan Poe tarot.
Ooh. So nice.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Where the suits are ravens and eyes and like a whole bunch of other cool things. So we'll just see what shows up tonight.
I was hoping like ravens, eyes, hearts, and pendulums or something goofy.
There's like a grape. I know. The Major Arcana is kind of cool because it does cover some of the characters in his tales. Minor Arcana, not so much, but let's see what pops open tonight. So for the category of Masonic values in the workplace, well, look at that. We have justice. What do we have here? Let's zoom in. Got little kitty eyes. Let's see if I can focus. Focus. There we go.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what story is that from.
The creepy stalking kitty.
Yeah, I see that.
Edgar Allan Poe.
It seems sort of Lovecraftian, perhaps more than Poe, but
The Odds of Justice. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Justice is a Masonic value, so
fairness, truth,
Yeah.
even cause and effect.
Ooh, that's right. I like it.
Yeah.
And it is one of those tarot cards that when you do follow the reversed value, it is kind of a anti-justice card.
Right.
A lot of cards when they have a reversed value in that AE weight system,
You've got to
they don't-
stretch it a little bit. Yeah.
they don't always have like this sort of anti-meaning, but in this case they do. So
yeah, there is a complete opposite.
Yeah.
You know.
If I think, yeah. I think this actually came up a little while ago. I was doing a tarot reading for a friend of mine, and when the movie tarot, and Justice was Batman.
Ooh.
I like it.
We all knew. You knew that. They can't not do it.
I approve.
I'm Batman.
Joe approved. Awesome.
Stamped.
Well, this will be fun. So tonight's topic, we're going to talk about Masonic values in the workplace. So this was one I think that Robert came up with. And why don't you set the stage, Robert, on why do we care about Masonic values in the workplace?
Well, we care about Masonic values in general, but we'll talk about what it means to carry those values around and to espouse them in our lives. Certainly, we love being Masons. We think we do great work. Not all the time are we very, very open about the internal work we're doing. It's more like on the outside, we're showing off that we have these values in the hopes that others will see them and act that same way, emulate the good behaviors and things that we that we hope to espouse. Because, we all have our faults. John might decide to flip somebody off one day. I don't think I've ever seen John flip anybody off, but you never know. Joe, on the other hand, Joe gets frustrated, and that's okay. He's a hand talker too, so you better watch out.
That's my love language, is cursing. Yes.
But in all seriousness, when we think about bringing these values to work, what could they be used for? Well, a number of things that we would normally use them for in our daily lives, things like adhering to a proper schedule, to be just and to be honest with your self and your employees and your peers and even your management and things. But more than that, I think one of the main benefits of bringing values to work is really about sort of affecting the people around you in a number of different ways. Maybe they get curious about Masonry, but that's not really what I think about. I think mostly about these Masonic values allow me to connect with my peers better. And then all of a sudden, I even used to find people would come to me to talk instead of going to HR to talk about things. You know what I mean? So
pay you an ombudsman salary on top of your job.
And it's just one of these things where I think bringing those values to work is not necessarily a thing that we're consciously doing either. It tends to be the thing that we just do. And people go, gosh, man, yeah, Joe swears a lot at me, but man, that guy, he cares. He gives a poop about XYZ, and that's awesome. And you just can't say the same about a lot of people that we work with.
That is true.
It's kind of it's sort of an antiquated notion, maybe, to be friendly and helpful and care. I don't know. It certainly seems that way sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think you touched on something really important, is that for a lot of Masons and a lot of newer Masons, you get the impression by what people do and what people say that Masonry just gets practiced within the four walls of the lodge room, right? It's like, hey, we hear a program. Hey, we do some ritual. We read a thing. We walk correctly, and that's Masonry. Where I think you're hitting on something really important. And for most of us, that is the most common place where you get to espouse all of these values and virtues is at the workplace, where you spend a good part of your week
right
out in the world, So,
That's
and I don't
true.
think we talk about that as often as we should.
I mean, it's a good point, right? Because if we're supposed to extol these virtues, these moral lessons that are taught to us, and we spend probably sometimes more time at work than we do with our families or sleeping, like that's the majority of how we show up to the world. So it makes a big deal, it makes a big sense of, well, how do we bring Masonry into the workplace? Not like we're trying to have lodge in the workplace, but how do we bring those values and exhibit them and be that better person in the workplace?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is particularly interesting, that you can draw a direct sort of through line. It just happens to be very relevant for Masons in your neck of the woods. Countless Masons work within the government, within three-letter agencies, and you then take that back to guys like these notions that Washington only dealt closely. His closest confidants were all Masons, right? These sort of through lines where we talk about things like integrity and trustworthiness, your ability to have discretion and confidentiality. And, that's just one example where we might see some of that today.
Well,
and, that goes all over the place.
Let me pull the thread on that, because I'm glad you brought that up. So for a period of time, I did work in the intelligence community, and my top line signer I met at work in an undisclosed location. So that was kind of cool. In fact, I had worked like with him, but not together, but on the same project. But we kind of would, our meetings would overlap, and kind of knew each other just in passing. Hey, how's it going? And so I knew he was kind of a nice guy in the first place. So I wasn't close with him, but he was a solid acquaintance. And I noticed he had a Masonic ring on, and that piqued my curiosity a little bit. This is my origin story of how I got started with Masonry. And it happened to be that shortly after I noticed his ring, I thought about it, talked with some friends about it, and then he happened to, like, within the same week, get on the elevator with me, and it was just he and I alone in the elevator, just going up like 2 or 3 floors. I look over to him, I'm like, "Hey, are you one of those Freemasons?" He's, "Why, yes, I am." It's like, I thought about joining him. He goes, "Let's do lunch tomorrow." And so, sure enough, by the next day, he had a petition printed out for me. He had, "I'll answer any question you want." He didn't shove it in my face. Fortunately, he read the room. He made sure that I was genuinely curious for all the right reasons. But it was beginning of a great friendship going forward after that. And what all started was exactly what you were just talking about, Robert, is I knew that this guy could pass a clearance, right? He was trustworthy enough, right, to be trusted with government property. And I had seen him in work, right? So this guy wasn't a douchebag in meetings. He was actually, a stand-up guy I could already trust. There was just some je ne sais quoi about this guy that I could trust, that I saw he's a model of someone that I want to emulate. So that was good. And he was my top line signer. And unfortunately, he just passed about 6 months ago. So yeah, it was the end of a chapter for sure. And I was happy to be there at his Masonic funeral, and have a lot of memories, and to see the impact his life made. Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But it's relevant. It's relevant to this because
It is.
I don't think
him setting the icon as a standard of what a good employee is, and then to become a brother and a top line signer, it really set the dominoes to where we are today. So,
yep, much shorter story for me, but yeah, I met my first Mason that I know of at the workplace. I was actually still serving in the Army at the time, and he was another soldier. But yeah, the first thing I noticed about him was, to your point, the way he comported himself at the workplace. And I mean, for a lot of times we spent in the office, sometimes in other places, but a lot of office time. And yeah, it was probably a good few weeks that it took for me to realize that he had a ring on his finger and then figure out what that ring was. But and he wasn't a Mason in our jurisdiction, or my jurisdiction at the time. But it definitely started me down the path. But again, it was that model of right living that you espouse, and I didn't know where it came from. So kind of piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody that I worked with. Well, actually, I take that back. I put in an internet inquiry, and a lodge secretary hit me up, and he said, "You work with a guy?" And I said, "I do." And he didn't really work. He worked in my building. He had an office there. His name was Joe Zoller. He has also passed. But he brought me to his office, which, weird as this may sound, we're at a national airport at the time, and he was I don't know what you call it, like an airplane real estate guy. I don't know how that works, like rents out hangars or something. Anyway, I was just a wrench mechanic. So I go into this office, and it was like I walked into Jumanji, or your super uber rich uncle who I don't know, toured the world with Teddy. I mean, all kinds of crazy cool stuff on the walls, and like he could have told me anything, I would have joined right there. He was just too cool.
Join the adventure club. Yeah,
it was like the adventure club. Yeah, it was like the explorers club. He was so cool, but at the same time, yeah. Nobody at work was like, "Oh, you're gonna go talk to creepy Joe Zoller?" No, everybody loved that guy, and it was because he was that guy who showed up. He was always like service minded in leadership. Just his communication and presentation skills with people were at a level I hadn't even seen before, not even with my bosses, because he was always talking to you and present in the conversation rather than sort of just, okay, bye, not really there all the time. And that was just bizarre to me. Nobody had ever been that way with me.
Look at that. I mean, that's there's 3 great stories right there of at least one brother, probably many more, right, that we can hold up to as, a good example of what being a Mason in the workplace, or having those Masonic values stand up in the workplace, what they represent, what they stand for. So that's great. I love it. Right. So what are some of those things that we're probably taught that we probably should hold ourselves to, or our fellow brothers to, as a standard for workplace ethics, virtues, whatever you want to call them? Ooh. Anyone at all? Anyone?
Ooh.
Mr. Martinez.
Ooh. Yes, Joe Martinez, Pisces, ENTJ. Let's see. I mean, we can start with the tenets. The 3 great tenets of brotherly love, relief, and truth. I think you find. I'm sure people are going to say, "Oh, brotherly love, that's weird for work," but I think you can tie a lot of that stuff in there. So let's start there with brotherly love. I'm doing this from memory, but it teaches us to regard the whole human species as one big common family, right? So, I think that it has to extend out to the workplace, where we have these really big relationships with people. A lot of people that we that like us, some people that probably don't like us at work. Everybody has those for one reason or another. But, the tenet of brotherly love, I think for me, teaches us to be empathetic to people, even the people that rub us the wrong way, even the people that are pissed that we have the job that we have or take on the role that we take on. Have empathy for those people where you're spending 40 plus hours a week with,
Well, let me caveat that, because my mindset has changed over time. Where people say, "Oh, well, we're like a family in this workplace."
Oh, I hate that.
I didn't realize that could be offensive to some people who have had broken families, right? I've been fortunate enough to have a pretty good family, but that is not always a good thing if you say it at face value, right? So it's not that we're one big family, one big happy family at work. No, when you say brotherly love and bringing that into the workplace, it's actually acting as, one who cares, one who's actually the positive parts of being a family, right? So,
well, it's not even that. I think the concept of brotherly love is have emotional intelligence or have an awareness of your emotional intelligence, where
sure,
people in the workplace do not have that, right? They bring all of their baggage and their woes and their worries and their insecurities, and they bring those into the workplace, and that feeds their behavior and the behavior of others, right? So you get this net negative effect when you are not emotionally intelligent at the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Yes, not that.
No, not that.
Be emotionally intelligent. Mm-hmm.
Joe, I'm sorry. Did I hear you say you were ENTJ?
I am.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Shocker.
Yeah. John's
ESTJ.
Oh, are you?
I'm an ESTJ. Yeah.
All right.
Give me a checklist. I'm happy.
Yeah. You're the famous. Let's see, Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Thatcher was ESTJ. Just saying.
So was Darth Vader. So.
I know. Bernard Montgomery, Henry Ford. Ooh, Henry Ford. I don't know. That might not be so good.
No, Margaret Thatcher is an ENTJ.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
You claim her, not me.
FDR, Carl Sagan. Eric Cartman is an ENTJ.
You mean Napoleon Bonaparte?
It's interesting. While you guys are vamping on that, I'm going to go look up, because actually, when I did the 2016 Masonic survey, I did ask everyone for their personality types. So let me go dig that up, because that's a good slide to bring back.
You know who else was an ENTJ? Joseph Stalin. Just saying.
Okay.
We got that.
We've got Adele. Adele is an ENTJ.
We have Adele.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm looking at the list now. And
Jack Welch.
George Clooney.
We've got some folks on the ENTJ list that I don't want to say, but
yeah, I'm skipping the ones I don't want.
I like Carl. I like Carl Sagan.
All right.
Aristotle.
What you got?
Prepare to be amazed. You ready for this?
All right, let's hear it.
Okay, so for those of you who are longtime listeners, no-time callers, back in 2016, I put together a Masonic survey on what made people tick and what the basic demographics of the craft. And because I had taken some leadership training and all that fun stuff, I actually asked those who took the survey, which is about 2,300 or so Masons from around the world. And one of the questions was, what is your Myers-Briggs type indicator? And if they didn't know what that was, they could go to 16personalities.net and take the test themselves. And so here were the results. I'm going to leave you with a pregnant pause for suspense. Ooh. There we go. So of those who were surveyed, 10% are INTJs, introverted, intuitive thinking and judging. So
that, I think immediately about cross-sectioning that data to go, and what percentage of dudes joined because they just didn't feel a connection to people, right? And so you might have introverted people finding connections in Lodge, which is, that's awesome. But wow, look at us. ENTJ 7.91%. ISFP, what is? I don't even know what that is. I gotta look at it up.
Yeah, me too.
Yes.
So it's funny. I actually did in the presentation specifically call out the characteristics of INTJs. Just, I mean, yes, we could talk all day about the different personality types and how, but if per the survey data, 10% of us are INTJs. Let's hear what INTJs are like. Rules, limitations, and traditions are shunned to the INTJ personality type. Everything should be open to questioning and reevaluation, and to see. And if they see a way, INTJs will often act unilaterally to enact their technically superior, sometimes insensitive, and almost always unorthodox methods and ideas.
Not in my year, they won't.
Wow.
No, sir.
The troublemakers. That's what you.
That's crazy. My goodness. That is so antithetical to.
It's
Wow.
Myers-Briggs type of the week.
Let's start next week.
Fun stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so ISFP, Jackie Kennedy, Ulysses S. Grant, Jonathan Ive, former Apple intelligence dude. Nero. Why is Nero not like they put like a black border around all of the evil people who were ISFP? Nero doesn't have a black border. I don't know. He seemed kind of an evil guy to me.
Yeah.
Bob Dylan, brother Bob.
Brother Bob.
Wow.
All right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we nerded on that.
It's probably worth another survey. I keep saying I'm going to do it one of these days, but 5 kids and lots of excuses. I'll get around to doing another survey soon. Meh.
Who needs them?
Sometime before 2040, we'll get
You
another
got
survey.
15 years. Yep.
Clock's ticking.
All right. Next tenant. What's the next tenant?
Let's see. Brotherly love, relief.
Relief. So we have to give money at work.
Well, it does encourage stepping up to assist colleagues and clients. So maybe that means you're the guy who buys the cookies for your friend's kid. Maybe that's what that means. Or maybe it means you submitted an extra couple dollars to the I don't know, like the charity potluck or
right?
something.
Mm-hmm.
Or the swear jar,
The swear jar for Joe.
which is a huge part of our EBITDA. Yes, absolutely. Yes. See, I look at relief more as leaning towards serving, right? Kind of along what you were saying.
Absolutely.
So it's not just and that kind of ties. Yeah. Well, not even that. Plus, I think for those of us that are in leadership, it should keep us mindful towards that idea of servant leadership, which we've talked about ad nauseum here. A lot of people in the workplace care more about their role than the job they actually need to perform, right? Oh, I'm this director, or I'm that vice president, or I am this senior manager, and that becomes their identity and not the actual stuff that they're supposed to do to support that. So I think relief reminds us to have that mindfulness of service, right? And again, it doesn't have to be giving people crap for free. It could be serving with your time and your knowledge.
Yeah.
Bringing the people that you're responsible for up to your level, right? So that everybody grows together.
Yeah, I think about it somewhat in terms of, we all have stakeholders, fancy corporate word for your personal customers, whether they're your employees, the people who come to you, whatever. And you have stakeholder awareness, right, in terms of what they need and how they're doing in their lives. And that is a form of community charity in a sense. But also you have a reputation that should sort of exude a like Joe was saying, a service, servant leadership, so that people know that you're there and invested in them, and also volunteer leadership experience as well. It comes into play with this idea of charity, right? Like whether you're running committees or events, building, even if you hold like some sort of a corporate, or maybe you're like maybe you work at a mechanic shop. Maybe you want to hold like a 10-15 minute thing, all employee meeting, where you want to give some insights in how you can
Right.
do better at your job, right? Or like continuous improvement stuff.
It doesn't have to be financial relief.
That's
it can
right.
be, hey, you could be a mentor to someone at work, right? That's a form of relief because you're giving back unselfishly to the benefit of others in a workplace professional setting. So that makes sense.
And buy those cookies, like RJ said.
And by
Yeah, you definitely want I like
coffee for someone.
I like tag-alongs, but coffee's good. Coffee's always good.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. And then truth. What does Masonic truth have to do with the workplace?
Oh, what doesn't it have to do?
Don't be a freaking liar at work.
There's that.
One. And the other thing I was thinking of, because, we put these really lofty definitions on these tenets where they're really not as complicated as our ritual can make them out to be. But, truth for me is being transparent with people. Like, how many people do we know in the workplace that love to hoard information?
Oh, yeah.
And for themselves to, number one, bolster their position.
It's the worst.
And it's just like, shit, I wish I knew that sooner. Or, why'd you wait till Friday when you knew about it on Monday, and you just made our lives difficult. Everybody has those kinds of people at work that just hoard their information keepers, right? And their currency is having more information than others. I mean, I look at this tenet as be transparent with your people, because the more, I'm a big over communicator. Everybody knows that. Probably talk more than I should. But I'm always been a big fan, no matter what role I've had in my grown-up life, of it's always better to over-communicate than under-communicate. And no one's really going to be pissed that you over-communicated stuff, Yeah,
that's right. If you're clear and have honest communication, it, number one, reduces friction around the board with anybody that you are on any kind of communication level with. But I think what is failed to be realized by folks who aren't always, having this transparency, is they feel like they have information, and that makes them cool. But nobody knows you have information unless you let it slip sometimes, and then you just look like a gossip, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you are truthful and you have transparency, this builds incredible credibility. People then know you to be open and honest, and they're like, well, why would Joe lie about this? He has no reason to. Why would John tell me one thing when it doesn't benefit him to tell me or not tell me? He just, that's that.
Well, the thing too is based on what you're saying, the other big thing is for truth, fess up when you made a boo-boo, or fess up when you did something wrong. It's so hard for people, especially in the workplace, to admit that an error occurred, or they just plain messed up. You know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I think, usually the people to me that stand out as leaders are the ones that admit they made a mistake, explain the reason why, and have already come up with a solution to fix it. You know what I mean? As opposed to the people that Robert was mentioning, that it's like, oh, RJ, he really screwed up this TPS report. Holy crap. We're going to totally make fun of him at the next big meeting.
Nobody tells on me faster than me.
That's good, because that, I think, is like the opposite of lying. It's how do you double down on truth? And to me, a better word for that is integrity.
Yeah.
Right. It's doing what you say you're going to do, and when you don't, fix it.
Yep. Yeah. I mean,
plain and simple.
I have made mistakes in the world of business, and when those happen, I always own up to it right away. How can I fix it? And it gets fixed. And it's nothing that can be undone. This isn't like drunk driving, right? And you crash and kill somebody. This is business. Maybe an email went out or something, and whatever. But the point is, you have to be able to own up to those things, because there's more on the line than just your reputation. It's kind of like you go back to the trial of Plato. Right? He has multiple attempts to leave, but doesn't. He's like, guards say, "Oh, you can. We'll leave it open. We'll leave the gates open. You can go." And no, he's like, "Yeah, well, listen. If I do that, what example does it set for the rest of the country?" And so he drinks the tea, gets numb, stops breathing, and dies. Like, this is just what
solid
better
to the end.
What better example is there? I don't know if this is we covered in philosophy class quite a bit. They always tell this story, the trial of Plato. You could read it, but is it a George Washington's cherry tree thing? I don't know. Maybe a little bit, but the point is there, right? Like, how much can we maintain that level of truth, and how far do we take it, and what consequences are we okay with accepting based on the truth? Telling the truth could get you fired.
Oh yeah. Are you willing to be that truthful? So I think, related to that, we talked about some of these virtues and values that we should be bringing in, that are model behaviors. And one thing that got me thinking is, okay, why do Masons put Masonic square and compass emblems on the back of their car? Right? They want to be known as a Mason out in public. That's why we wear rings.
Giving the middle finger.
Right.
While driving. Yes.
So is there a workplace equivalent, right, where you could say, hey, I met my top line signer because he wore his ring at work, but like, hey, if there was a way that we put that, I don't know, I'm making this up on the spot, you put that in your email signature. You put a square and compass right there on your email signature. So every email that goes out, it's got your name and it's got a square and compass on it. So you better darn well be, on the level with everything that you write.
I'm putting my job hat back on. I'm pretty sure that would violate all of our brand guidelines at our organizations.
Just use the official colors. You're fine.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm going. What is that artifact? What is that outward symbol that holds you? Just like, why do we wear rings? It's to hold ourselves accountable. Is there a way you can brand yourself that way?
I got two. I got the mandatory, especially if you're in government, the mandatory overabundance of Masonic challenge coins, which you can strew around your office. Or my personal favorite, which if I saw it at somebody's workplace, I would totally have a fit, the kneeling Knight Templar poster,
We can all visualize what that is. That's the funny part. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it's totally framed. It's in a nice wood frame and everything. And yeah, it's like a showpiece. And it's like, whoa, that's a lot.
I have never in my life seen that in any office I've been into. I have seen
knocking all this crap down right here.
The former mayor of Waukegan, gosh, maybe 15, 20 years ago, probably 15 years ago at this point, he used to have a Masonic square and compass like this big on his desk, like facing the person who was going to sit down and talk with the mayor. I thought that was awesome.
That's what I'm saying. Something like that. It doesn't have to be as obtuse, but
yeah, on my desk, I had a little polished like coin holder with my Mother Lodge coin in it, and it just sat there. People would ask about it.
What about your framed Knight Templar poster kneeling?
No. Yeah. Things that were
that says "I am the storm."
My desk. I had the I want to believe was in my cubicle. I had the Drake equation in my cubicle. I I had a pocket ref on my desk, and a rollaway chalkboard. Nerding out all day at work. Yeah. No, I didn't really. I wish I had a Knight Templar thing. No, I don't.
Oh, this chainmail? Yeah. Don't worry about it. It's a weekend thing.
I love medieval reenactment, bro.
TMR Secret Santa is coming, boys.
Oh,
my
no.
gosh.
Oh, no.
You ever like get a friend request from somebody on Facebook and then you see that as their profile picture and you just click nope?
Nope. Yep. Nope.
Love you, bro, but no.
It's too much. Too much.
It's so good. But no, I mean, I think about this stuff all the time. And with younger generations, I had a guy. He was a mentee for a little while. And we would go to lunch almost every day. And every day, he was just a solid guy. Like, I was like, man, this kid would be such a good bro. And I would always be like, hey, man, you ever thought about this? And he goes, yeah, I saw that on your desk. I looked it up. I read into it. But yeah, I am the storm. And my boy Taylor said, I'm just not into that. And when I said, well, what does that mean? And his whole gripe was he just viewed our organization as antiquated because we only allowed dudes. I was like, oh, okay, no problem. And we just never talked about it again.
Wow.
You know what? I would circle back around with the bring a Knight Templar poster with you, kneeling. Very deep.
But Taylor, look at chainmail.
What do you mean? I am the storm?
Oh, I am the storm.
All right, question for you. What if you know a fellow brother Mason at work and they're not holding themselves or the fraternity in a good light? What do you do?
I think you gotta do the nasty.
Whisper good counsel.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
It's really like difficult, right? Because a lot of times people talk about, oh, well, why didn't you whisper good counsel in a guy's ear or whatever? Because there'll be articles that are just like blasting dudes on Facebook or whatever. Oh, they didn't whisper the good counsel and things. And to that, I always think, well, number one, maybe they already did and it didn't work. And now, like, we as a fraternity have to take corrective action and let the public know something before something gets out, right? So that's number one. I think about, it's always about optics. We got to care about the fraternity's optics. We have to.
Agreed.
But that's a two-sided coin there, my friend. Right? There is a whole group of people. I'm sure some of us that are on this podcast that are listening in, at the very least, that talk about that optics part of the conversation as we need to protect the fraternity from itself, right? So those public blastings on Facebook do nothing to benefit the fraternity. Then you've got that other side, and you probably have these two camps at work too. You have this other camp that's like, yeah, we can't sweep this stuff under the rug. Everybody needs to know because this is some not cool stuff. So,
this is tangential, and maybe it's a topic for another show, but I would like to know more about protecting the fraternity from itself. How does putting something on blast when, let's say, whispering good counsel, charges, blah, 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 didn't work? So in order to protect the fraternity, you have to out the
Masonic whistleblowers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's two. Well, I don't think this is the total answer that you want, but for me, there's two standards when it comes to the optics of the fraternity, right? I mean, this can translate into the workplace conversation, right? There's your idyllic version of what you think Freemasonry is, right?
Yep.
And for you to say something out loud or put it on Facebook with the little skull background graphic on it to say, hey, this brother done messed up and everybody needs to know about it, versus protecting the public marketing image of the fraternity. It's like, hey, we're a bunch of old dudes and we give money and we do things and we're totally, blasé and that kind of thing. So there's two images, I think. And I think the ones that get most charged up about it are at the extremes of both of those, right? They're the ones that like, oh my God, we're the best social club on the face of this earth. And we give money to Shriners Hospitals every day and all this stuff. And anything that looks untoward towards that is bad. Versus, hey, I know a bunch of people who are Freemasons that are doing really scummy stuff and nobody's calling them out. So me, to protect what my image of Freemasonry is, I'm going to go and say something really loud from behind my keyboard. So I think again, extremes, but again, this translates to, the workplace conversation as well. You've got folks at the workplace that, totally live by your job's core values, right? It's like, yep, we do this, mission, vision, I'm all about it, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got people that are very, very self-centered, for lack of a better
minimum,
term. I'm going to do the bare minimum and I'm going to do this and I'm not going to espouse a damn thing. And if there's a problem, I'm going to keep it to myself and so on and so forth.
All right, let me pivot for a second. I got an interesting scenario here. What about the situation where, let's just say, we talked about whispering good counsel to another brother at work. What happens? Now we're getting into some ethics land here. What happens if you're a subordinate and your boss is a brother and the boss is being a screw up? Now we have this layer of relationship versus fraternity versus ethics in the workplace.
Well, you've got two layers to that, right? The first thing you need to answer for me to answer that is he a bro who is like, hey man, my name is bro, whether I'm a past grandmaster or whether I'm, secretary for 40 years like RJ, I'm just bro, versus the guy who expects you to call him worshipful at the workplace. You know what I mean?
Right. But it's harder to whisper good counsel to your boss who actually has a direct impact on your performance review and your pay. Right? So it's getting a little dicey now.
Well, see, I would argue that point with you, because if we're talking about living the tenets at the workplace and we talk about truth as having integrity, exactly, whatever that ding ding is, it's upholding the standards, right? Even when it's painful. That's part of truth.
Yes.
If you're living your values and you're being open and honest and you're encouraging open dialogue from both your peers, your superiors, and your subordinates, right? If that already exists there, then that shouldn't be that hard of a conversation, right? But again, it really depends on what they did, right? Like, did they do something to where they're going to get shit canned, essentially? Or, did they, miss a staple on their TPS report kind of thing?
All right, here's another one.
Damn it. You're making me think too much.
You're getting ready to look for vendors. Or maybe you're going to buy some software, maybe you're going to buy some inventory. And you have some competitors. One of them is owned by a brother that you could maybe be unfairly influenced.
So this is an instance where, like, whereas before, I feel like you have a obligation. You're living the tenets of Masonry when you go into that office and you have a conversation with your boss, whether it's about salary or his behavior or whatever. You can bring that sort of ethos into that room without calling out being a Mason. I don't think.
Hopefully.
Well, that's the thing, is I don't think that I should ever have to remind somebody that they're a Mason. They should know, and they should live that way. Now, on the flip side, where you're offering this scenario, I think this is one of those scenarios where the law takes precedence, because this is there are laws to protect this kind of thing and to stop it from happening.
Yep.
So let's say you went with the the bro because he's a bro over another company.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's give the business to a bro. Well, look, that's all fine and well if your lodge has got no bylaws regarding how many bids you got to get or whatever, and there's no, legalities there. But like, yeah, okay, I work for a healthcare company. If at any point I decided to sort of give preferential treatment, it's not seen any different than me giving somebody baseball tickets or a corporate gift, or
Right. Mm-hmm.
I go to, that's heavy fines, firing,
Yeah,
jail time.
exactly. Yep. And so I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the logical conclusion of some of these things, where we have many office policies and laws that say, hey, you really shouldn't date your subordinates or your superiors, right? For fraternalization in that way, actual. And then, and same thing applies, right? So now it's not quite a romantic relationship, but it is a stronger bond that we all talk about for the past 532 episodes. It's a stronger bond than just a friendship. And so it should be left to the individual Masons. Like you said, we'd hope we never have this conversation, but it should be left to the individual to say, you know what? This is not conducive to a good work environment. I need to actually recuse myself from being the subordinate under this person who's a brother, because I don't think we can have a fair and impartial conversation about my performance. Or I can't have this. I can't be in the decision making criteria of choosing between these two vendors, because one of these vendors is also owned by a brother, and I don't want that to influence nor give the appearance of favoritism.
And a good bro, a good bro on the other side of that would understand if you had to go to your boss or HR.
Exactly. That's Masonic values in the workplace.
Yeah. Berkey Bendeck brought up a really great point. He said, buy from the brother only if you can justify it, such as trust. Someone you trust is better for the company, usually, even if it costs a little more upfront. I agree with that, but also the idea of buying from a brother and the idea of it costing a little bit more. So often, we can talk about bringing those values to work all day, but some of those values that we bring to work also have correlations in our personal lives and the dealings we have with others. And so I think a lot of times, I'm really not a fan of, I don't have much to offer anyone, like in terms of products and services. Like I do leather work, sure, but I do that for fun. And I do it to like help out the podcast or, a charity or something. But when you're out there and you're like a bro deal by going to another brother, I always find that so fascinating, and almost I find it kind of gross when a brother is looking for another brother simply for a deal. Albert Pike wrote extensively about this, and he essentially says, you pay a brother what it's worth, maybe even more, because they're a brother, not less.
Yeah, I think, and I've lived this firsthand, where I've had brothers that offer services that we've needed, and they just happen to have the best quote or have the best range of services, or kind of what John was talking about before, the relationship already came with an implicit level of trust where there was less vetting that needed to be required. So, and I'm okay with that. I don't think it skirts ethical boundaries. Right now, if you're giving it to him and he's a complete POS, then
there's that.
Hopefully you're not doing that. Yes.
Hopefully that comes to light anyway. All right. So it's that time now for the final question. Okay. So I got to thinking, at most of our degrees, we have a closing charge that we give to the newly initiated brother, where we basically give them a little after lecture that says, hey, by the way, you're a Mason now, so we're giving you in charge to act a certain way, both inside and outside of the lodge. What if there were a Masonic workplace charge given where we tell the newly initiated pastor raised brother, hey, and when you go out into the workplace, here are the things that we expect of you. It could be reinforcement of the degree. It could be something additional, right? So put on your thinking caps, and if there were a Masonic workplace charge given to brothers, what would it include? And since I had the benefit of coming up with the question, I'm going to go first to let you guys think about it, because I never get to go first.
Wow.
So, here we go. Look at that, mixing it up.
Wow. I got to hear this.
All right, so hey, set the bar low. I didn't go overboard. First thing, integrity. Like I said, we expect you to do what you say you're going to do, and hold that as sacred. We want you to do good work for good work's sake. Let work be, the value that you contribute to the organization. In other words, don't be a slacker. Exhibit prudence. Follow wisdom at work, right? Be prudent in your decisions that you make in the workplace. And finally, use the beehive, right? Be productive builders in whatever organization you're in, right? Do not be a lazy drone. Contribute. I think those would be admirable things to add to a Masonic workplace charge that we should encourage brothers to go off and bring their values into the workplace. What would you add or subtract, Joe?
Damn it. I liked what you said. So if I were to have a Masonic workplace charge hanging up in my office next to my kneeling Knight Templar poster,
Obviously,
it would say things, I think, like going back to the tenets, right? Because those are the three that I found most relevant to today's conversation. So let brotherly love guide your dealings with everyone you encounter at work, right? Things like want to understand others before you are understood yourself, that kind of thing. And then for relief, I would say, just as we said, understand and know that relief is not your hand in your pocket. It's leadership through service, right? And that's a way to espouse that tenet. And then, truth is the easy one, right? Is let truth be the thing that steers your professional life. Things like letting your word be as solid as a cornerstone, or whatever the Masonic symbol you want to put in there. So, you can wrap a lot of good workplace ethos into the tenets of brotherly love, belief, and truth. And that's what I would hang on my wall. Oh, right. Only if there's astronauts in it.
Astronaut. Okay, Robert, what would you add or subtract to that?
Well, it's interesting because I really do feel like there's already a charge that encompasses those things that's given, at least in Illinois, right? Our first degree charge. This is not a secret in Illinois. Our lectures are all plain written and published. It's not a secret. And I guess I would recite just a portion of that. And it comes in to talk about you having certain talents, right? And it says that your duty to yourself by such a prudent and well-regulated course of discipline as may best conduce to the preservation of your faculties in their highest splendor, thereby enjoining you to exert your talents wherewith God has blessed you as well to his glory as to your fellow creatures. So to me, that it says, hey, preserve your talents really well, work on them. You have been gifted those things by divine providence. and you should use them in the best way possible to make those lives around you better, including your family, yourself, your neighbors. And it goes on to talk about, as a citizen, you are enjoined to be exemplary in the discharge of your public duty by never proposing or countenancing any act which may have a tendency to subvert the good order of society or the peace of society, something along those lines. Sorry. A grand lecturer one day will yell at me about saying that. But further, as an individual, you are charged to practice the domestic and public virtues. And then it says, let temperance, chasten, fortitude, support, and prudence direct you in all of your actions. And so I think based on that alone, it covers the majority of it. And for fun, I did ask Chat GPT to using a sort of AI platform, Ask Hiram. Maybe I used that, maybe I didn't. I said, give me a charge for the workplace based on our the standard rituals that exist in the United States. And very short, it says, brethren and colleagues, as we work together, let us uphold the virtues of brotherly love, relief, and truth, ensuring our workplace thrives on honesty and respect. Let merit guide our progress, acknowledging that the most proficient may lead with humility. Treat each other with kindness, for our language and actions build the foundation of harmony. Face challenge with wisdom, allowing reason to guide us. Leaders should empower others, recognizing that true service uplifts everyone. Approach every task with dedication, reflecting integrity and craftsmanship. Let us nurture our workplace as a community of mutual respect and a shared quest for excellence. So I thought that was interesting.
Boom.
It gets it.
So to be.
And all it does end with that, but I just didn't say it. But it's so funny to me that just the three of us talking about this with all of these comments on the sidebar, everything that was in that silly little AI excerpt had been mentioned by you guys before you even knew it went to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love, because it tells me that these are the things that are indeed ingrained in Joe's head, in John's head, my head, everybody who's listening. I think that's friggin' awesome.
It's good at pattern matching. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. That was great. So thank you for doing that. That was really a cool exercise. And I agree that when there's too many coincidences, then this says something about our intelligent design. So cool. Awesome. This was a fun episode. And it went all sorts of ways I didn't expect it to go. And I'm glad it did, because I learned a lot about you. I learned a lot about what do we find valuable as far as ethics, and how we as Masons should go live in the world. So with that, I want to thank all of you for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.